Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I'm Paul Clark and welcome to my studio. What have I got for you lovely lot today? Well, I've got another one in the old rusty vehicle series. Well, it's not really a series at all, is it? I've only done one other, and that was an old rusty tractor. I'll link up here if you haven't seen it. But we are going to have a go at this lovely old American car in a desert scene. And if ever there was a case of driving your Chevy to the levee and finding it was dry, then this is it. So come and join me and we'll paint this step by step together. Oh, and don't forget to hang about to the end because I've got some lovely old rusty cars painted by the Facebook group from a little while ago. Okay, so for today's materials, my paper is some Arsh Rough. It's 140 pound, 100% cotton. It's on a block so it won't need stretching, but any decent watercolour paper will do. My colours today, now there are quite a few, so I'll list them along the bottom of the video as we go along. And my brushes, 4 from my range, a 3/4 inch flat, number 12 on number 6 round, and of course my trusty number 3 rigger. Okay, so here's the reference photo which I got from Pixabay. Now I'm going to leave the grass but take out most of the background clutter, but I still want to get a nice sort of desert feel to this. So here is my pencil sketch, which is free to download from my website, link in the description below. And for those of you who are interested, I did a little bit of research and this car is a 1936 Chevrolet Coupe. Now I just think it's the most beautiful shape. Now most of today's cars look exactly the same in my opinion. Off we go! And as usual, wetting the background with clean water using my flat brush. Now it's my intention today to create a vignette style painting, so I'm leaving plenty of white paper around the image. Next, straight in with a mix of Cobalt blue and Cerulean blue, letting it bleed out to a nice soft edge and decreasing the value towards the left side. And don't forget to fill in the windows. So here I'm just adding into the wet a suggestion of some distant bushes with some burnt umber. Okay, so while I'm waiting for the sky to dry, I'm continuing with the foreground and just wetting some of the area and then using various mixes of green using my Cobalt blue and Cadmium yellow, letting it all mix and blend directly on the paper. Here some clean water to create some forced backgrounds. Now I've decided to do all the background first and save the best bit, the car, to last. Bit like I used to do when I was a kid with my Sunday roast. Next, cover up my sky and splat in some dark value into the damp wash. Love this technique, using the sharpened wooden end of my brush to score and scratch in some details. Now for the cactus, with a very yellowy green mix using my number 12 round brush. Now, I don't think in all my years I've ever painted a cactus before, so this should be fun. The important thing is to keep this first wash nice and wet, and I'm going to paint one cactus at a time so it doesn't dry. So, straight in wet with a darker value bluey green into the right hand shadow side. And exactly the same with this more distant one. Next, it's important to let this totally dry, and then with my number 6 brush come in with a much darker bluey green for these details. Now with this distant one, I'm simply putting in less detail. Next for these rocks, and one of my favourite techniques. First, paint them in the conventional way, using cool and warm mixes of browns and greys, and even a little touch of Payne's grey. Next, I take an old plastic store card, press down hard and drag across the surface of the paint, altering the angle and pressure on the paper. And you get these most amazing rock textures. Now have a practice first and try it at different drying intervals. Now once that's dried, I'm coming back in with some Payne's grey to bring out a few details and shadows on the rocks. Next, for these old dead looking branches, starting with my number 6 brush and a very dark value of Payne's grey mixed with burnt umber. And now with my trusty number 3 rigger for these spindly details. So now we need to let this totally dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break. And as those good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, I think I'll join them. Now for the car. And as I want to drop in lots of colour mixes, I'm making sure the paint continues to move by wetting all the bodywork first, but leaving the roof to paint later. Now this rusty colour is a mix of burnt umber and alizarin crimson. Here, drying off my brush and lifting out these subtle highlights. And even a dab out with some tissue. Back in Wet n Wet with some rust colour. Now, if you look at the original photo, there are all sorts of weird and wonderful rust colours in the car's body. Is it something to do with oxidisation or something? I have no idea, so I'll just keep quiet. But these colours are all going in Wet n Wet. Okay, so this is a technique for retrieving some soft highlights when a wash is totally dried. Just take a damp brush and carefully lift off the paint with a tissue. Next, this is the same rust colour, but I've added in some cobalt blue to darken it. Here I'm creating some contrast with the grass below using some Payne's grey and softening the top with clean water. Dark rust colour again here for some details. Here on these wheel arches, painting in clean water and dropping in the rust colour to get a lovely soft graduated blend. Just slowly building up the layers with these details using my number 6 brush. Now adding the shadow side on that dent really helps to give that 3D effect. Now I'm being quite precise with all my brushwork today, as I have done some very loose tutorials recently, so it's nice to do something a little more tight and detailed. Now for the inside of the car, and some Payne's grey with a good thick consistency.
We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. We are living the dream together out here on the road, and our love takes center stage. And
So now this is dried, I think that radiator grille is just too contrasty, so I'm going to knock it back with some watery blue and the rust colour. And here I want to put a shadow on the rocks to bring out the contrast with the front of the car. So painting in clean water, then dropping in some burnt umber. Next, some highlights with some white gouache. Now I usually use it straight from a tube, but someone's walked off with it, so I'm having to work at it from this jar. So a few little dabs here and there. And that little rim around the lights is very important. Here I'm just adding a very light wash of the rust colour just to knock the white back a touch. A few more added rust details. Now, I've always loved language, especially the different words some countries say for the same thing. And it occurred to me that it's particularly true when related to the car. For example, in the UK we'll say boot, in North America you'll say trunk. We say bonnet, you say hood. We say windscreen, you say windshield. We say wing, you say fender. Petrol or gas, estate car or station wagon, saloon car or sedan. I could go on, but I can't think of any more. So put them in the comments below if you can think of any more. Nearly there, just some grass details to come in front of the car, and using my trusty number 3 rigger. Short, dabby lift-off strokes. Just beginning to overdo it a bit, so stop there. A little splattering with some dark green. Then the final touch, a yellow pastel pencil to get some light value blades of grass to show against the bottom of the car. Now this is important so the car doesn't look as if it's sitting on top of the grass. Last minute decision, let's add a third cactus over here. Now quite a bluey shade to send it back into the distance. Now we're done. Great fun. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and you'll give it a go. Coming up now are those lovely paintings from the Facebook group of Old Rusty Cars, so please check those out. And just a little announcement, there might not be a video next week because we're off on our travels. We've got our teaching holiday in Ibiza, and there definitely won't be a video the following week because we'll be out there still, but we'll be back in 3 weeks' time. And don't forget, you can check out all our holidays, events and workshops in the link below in the description. So, as always, please don't forget to like. Subscribe if you haven't already, it is free. Leave a comment, I do read every single one. And of course, I look forward to seeing you maybe next week, but definitely in 3 weeks' time. So, have a great time. Cheers for now.